All right, we've had another scan now. Let's get to Greg Forbes, our severe weather expert, to talk about what he's seeing trending with this storm that Greg has been on the ground now potentially for over 25 miles.
Yeah, I think about an hour and a half, if I'm remembering right, when I first began to see the debris signature. The latest scan, though, suggests that it may be cycling, that some of that rain-cooled air may have wrapped around it. The tornado may lift, but often in that case, it will reform, and we're not absolutely sure that it has lifted, but it definitely has lost some of that debris ball, and we have a new tornado warning now that is off to the north and east. So we're talking about areas now north and east of Little Rock, and this is the portion of the storm. So it is turned into a little bit of a donut hole at this point, which suggests that some of the rain-cooled air may have wrapped around, and you no longer see that purple debris ball like we had been seeing. Brand new tornado warning for White County, and then slide it a little bit, Sarah. Then continuing off toward the north and east. Well, it's still in White County. Areas just to the south of Joy, going to go close to, maybe just slightly north of Searcy, including Clay and Pickens areas. Given that we might get one or two different tornadoes now at this point, we've given a bit of a wide swath here that could be coming toward the Crosby area about 822, could get as far south as Judsonia there about 840, Bald Knob and Bradford, anywhere in these areas and maybe ever so slightly north of Bradford, it could still produce a tornado. We're sort of in that uncertain time because now here when you go to the high definition radar, the hook has actually wrapped around and closed off. The tornado normally had been sitting right about in there, happily at the juncture between rain-cooled air on one side and warm air, but now the rain-cooled air is wrapped all the way around, and so that means that the tornado had to pull upward pretty cool air, and as a consequence, it's lost some of that instability, some of that buoyancy, and it's weakened. That said, go back one, Sarah, if you still could. There is that donut hole. Let us see what the velocities and the et cetera are still showing. So now we're ready, yeah. So we're still, while it doesn't look as impressive in that debris ball sense, it still now has a widely recognizable signature here with the yellows going northeast, the greens going southwestbound, so still has a very well-defined circulation. In fact, it's the first time for a while that we've been actually able to recognize that signature. But what it is, it still has a few specks of that blue in here, suggesting maybe some of the debris that had been tossed in the air is still there, but maybe not. A brand new scan has just come in. Bad news, folks. There's a brand new debris signature that is showing up. Oh, and a brand new debris ball. So as I suggested, it only cycled, maybe stopped producing tornado or weakened the existing one for about 5 minutes. It is back in progress with a new debris ball. And let's go to the other slice in the interim. That purple and red cord tornado funnel that I had been showing you in the slice here had weakened. It lost some of the intensity, but now in the newest scan that's coming in, we again now down at low levels have a brand new debris signature with this, and so it is not done. In fact, it has just cycled. It weakened as it pulled some of the rain-cooled air around it, and now it is back in progress, heading toward the Crosby area, heading toward the area around Providence about 8:38, heading toward the Bradford area about 8:58, still with a certainly potentially deadly storm, a very destructive storm, one that is quite capable of leveling just about everything in its path, and so far we've seen quite a bit of evidence that it's been doing so. Jim?
Who?
We may not have Jim at this point. So very dangerous storms there. Let's go on, Sarah, and take a look at some additional graphics here while Jim gets back. I think he may not be hearing us. So again, White County, yeah, we'll go into some forecasts. White County, you still have tornado warning as the tornado approaches the Searcy area. So we're in an area of southeast Arkansas, parts of Arkansas that have torcons of 7 tonight, still 6s and 5s as we go up the Mississippi Valley into parts of Missouri and the Kentucky Juncture area. I think we have Jim Cantori back now. Jim, back to you.
Thank you, Greg. Again, excellent analysis. Sad to see that storm cycling back through and intensifying. Let's go to another storm chaser here who's near Garner, Arkansas. He's got a live stream for us that we're watching. Sir, I apologize since I just got this information. Or madam. Okay, he's not on the phone, so we're just looking at his stream then. Okay, and it occasionally is locking up, and you can see the lightning here as this particular chaser. Where is Garner, Bill, in relation to Searcy and in these other areas? But obviously heading toward a tremendous amount of lightning. We don't see any damage where this particular chaser is at this present time. But again, guys, look at the tree canopy. I mean, you really can't see the base of anything. So very, very dangerous to be out and about tonight, certainly with all this going on. But certainly professional chasers, professional storm spotters are out there providing a tremendous amount of aid to us in what is going to be a horrible night in the state of Arkansas, probably the worst tornado that we've seen all year at this point. I want to bring in Mike Seidel, who, as you know, if you've been watching us, has been in North Little Rock for a good part of the day. At one point, the tornado sirens going off. We knew that downtown Little Rock was not threatened, but now that we've seen and gotten confirmation on not only damage in Mayflower, but also fatality, Mike Seidel is on his way there. Mike, where are you right now in relation to Mayflower?
Hey, Jim, we're on Interstate 40. This is the westbound lanes, but here in this part of Arkansas, we're actually driving northwest. We're not driving very fast. We're actually not even moving right now, kind of crawling both lanes backed up as far as the eye can see, and I believe the interstate is shut down in both directions. We had some traffic about 7 or 8 minutes ago eastbound towards Little Rock. Nothing is going by in the other direction, so I assume there's an issue where the tornado crossed Interstate 40 here. We're about 15 miles north and west of Little Rock, and now right now, if you can put the window down, you can hear this. Okay, that was a giant piece of heavy machinery. We've had ambulances going by on the shoulder. They can't get by anywhere else because the road is now just gridlocked, Jim. So I'm fearing the worst here. There goes another flatbed truck. I'm fearing the worst here because of what we saw, like Dr. Forbes explained, with the debris ball and just the sheer number of emergency vehicles and ambulances zipping by us here. We're just a few miles from the Mayflower exit. I don't know if we're going to get there or what's going to happen here. Here comes another big truck. A lot of flatbed trucks coming through.
I mean, I hope that nobody is traveling east or west north of Little Rock right now on Interstate 40, because you're just congesting that whole thing even further. Again, as Mike confirms, and this is what we've been talking about, there's so many emergency vehicles that need to get in here. These are first responders. There are people that are potentially trapped in their homes, trapped under a pile of debris, and anybody that's out checking this out is obviously inhibiting that. So please just stay out of the way of all that and don't go out and search. There'll be plenty of time for that as they get things situated tomorrow. There's a lot of work that's going to be done here. This is a horrible situation. This is another picture that we've got in off Twitter here. I don't know what these two tire, I don't know if that's a trailer or this is a car that's been compacted by the tornado. I mean, that is, again, though, look beyond the automobiles and the gentleman standing there and the light off to the right. I mean, you can just see this whole area. It looks like a path of just debris, just piles of debris in through here. Again, guys, Mayflower, Arkansas, population approximately 2,300. Roland, Arkansas, approximately 745. We understand the storm has come across the interstate. Now, as Mike Seidel has reported to us on his way to Mayflower, we are seeing pretty much gridlock. And even the emergency response vehicles are having trouble getting there. So, again, help them. Help them, please help them. Let's talk to Greg Forbes. We've got another scan on the radar. Greg, again, last time we checked with you, we had a storm that was weakening a little bit, cycling, but now it's come back. Where is it right now?
Yeah, in fact, even as I gave my report the last time, it went from that weakened state back into a debris ball, and it continues to be that way. We also have a report in now, bad news. A fast food restaurant has been damaged in the Volonia area. So to add that to the communities that have suffered destruction or at least heavy damage from this tornado, which I believe now may have been going on probably continuously based on this debris signature for maybe over an hour and a half. Take a look. We're talking about an area now getting farther and farther away off to the north and east of Little Rock. We'll show that one, then we'll show some other storms that are up around the Russellville area. But again, it's not quite the intense a debris ball as we had. It's not the purple color, but still south and east of Joy, west of Searcy, we have a debris ball that is still part of the signature of the tornado on radar, heading off toward the north and east, probably going to go into the areas near or maybe just to the north of Bradford there, getting very close to the Albion area, heading toward Providence, the Velvet Ridge, Bradford, and Auvergne areas as a very dangerous storm. It's the southwest flank, the typical flank of a supercell thunderstorm. You can see little arms spiraling in, and they all converge down to the southwest part of the storm where the rain-cooled air meets the warm inflow. And I should point out there's a lot of warm air down to the south and east of that. It's uninterfered with. You go farther north, and the storm has a lot of the storms have rain-cooled things. There's the debris signature. It's not as intense, but it's still a debris ball that is showing up there. You can see that it's going to head across the highway there, south and east of Latonia, north and west of Searcy, probably about halfway between those communities, but it's capable of destroying just about everything in its path. There is still a resumption. I've taken a slice through the top now. It's far enough away from the radar that we can see the top of the storm here, at least in this slice, 50,000 feet tall. So it's about 9 miles tall for the storm. And all indications are that the tornado goes up into the storm about halfway up. You can see that tube coming up to about 20 to 25,000 feet. If you could, Sarah, go back to that one, and let me see again the velocities on this, and show a couple of other ways that we look at this storm. It is again intensified enough that things are getting a little bit complicated again in the velocity signature, with a lot of fast flow here in yellow toward the north and east, a lot of fast flow in green to the south and west, and a velocity signature with a tornado there and a very fast rotating parent thunderstorm that is much bigger and surrounding that. We have a measure here that is the normalized rotation. It actually computes the change in wind over a distance, and that one sometimes helps best identify where the tornado is. And so the tornado is right there. And we like to see that. There's been an update, so now that's showing that the tornado is right about there, moving up in, and the debris ball has weakened a little bit. And let's take a look at the correlation coefficient. Not a ball anymore, still some signs that all these blue, that there are specks of debris in the air that have been lifted up previously by the tornado, are now probably tumbling. Well, they're still suspended or tumbling down to the ground. Let's move on then, Sarah. And there was the slice. We have the storm again repeating that it's heading toward or just to the north of the area near Bradford, and getting in that area about 8:56. Providence getting very close to you about 8:36. We wanted to take a look at a storm that is up in the Russellville, Arkansas area. And this is an area that a few years ago had an EF4 rated tornado that tracked 123 or 124 miles. That was a record long track for the state of Arkansas. So while Arkansas is a hilly state, a forested state, when conditions are right, like they are today, you can get some pretty long tornadoes. If there would be a tornado here, could be Russellville, the Moreland, the Stump Toe areas. Slide that just a little bit to the north, Sarah, and catch the sort of the little dog leg location. No, slide your tracking a little bit to the north, yeah, right in there. That it could be the Dover, the Hector, the Lost Corner areas, were it to begin to develop a little bit more rotation, would seem to me to be the places that would have the highest chances of getting a tornado. So, Jim, certainly still the storm that is north and east of Little Rock now and has hit so many communities is the #1 storm of the day. Maybe, in all likelihood, the #1 storm of the year thus far, but there's still a lot of other dangerous storms out there. Jim?
Yeah, and that is the point. I mean, you're showing now the storm near Russellville, which could follow in its shoes. Let's hope not. Before I get to Mike Seidel, guys, I want to do this because Bill Bunning's got he's got what we call the HER model. It's one of the high-resolution models out there. What does the rest of the nights have in store for us, Bill? That's what we want to know. That's what people that are living in these areas, certainly that are under the gun, want to know.
Sure, and the HER model is currently showing, in fact, what we're seeing developing, which is thunderstorms farther south across eastern Texas with time this evening.
So initially, you like the initialization of this model?
It seems to be doing relatively well. And so what we're going to see is thunderstorms that are in southeast Oklahoma down into east Texas.
What time are we here? Where are we?
This is moving into the midnight to 2, 3, 4 a.m. as we move forward in time.
Shreveport, Little Rock again.
And you can see that we have line of storms that will pose an embedded tornado threat, also perhaps enhanced damaging winds. And this will be important.
Where are we this time?
This is getting close to 10Z. So about
early morning
5,
hours.
6 a.m. Eastern time.
There's Houston potentially in play for rush hour tomorrow morning.
This will be important for rescue and recovery operations in Arkansas. The storms are not over tonight, so they'll want to keep that in mind as they are out there trying to find
So
folks that are
for
affected.
Little Rock, these areas to the north of Little Rock that have this 25-mile path, they're going to get rain probably for the next several hours or another round of thunderstorms.
Another round. It's not over yet.
All right, thanks, Bill. We appreciate that. Again, Bill Bunting here at the NOAA Storm Prediction Center here in Norman, Oklahoma. Let's go to Mike Seidel, who's en route. Remember, Mike's been in North Little Rock. He's heading up toward Mayflower. Mike, how far are you from Mayflower, and what are you seeing in terms of the traffic congestion?
Jim, we're about 2 miles from the exit. Here's what's going on. I told you last time a lot of the trucks zipping by on the shoulder. Well, the reason being is about half a mile ahead of what we've gotten word is soon what happened, the tornado came over the interstate, and cars got mixed up with this twister. So now they're up there trying to get these cars. I don't know if it was injured or killed or the status. I just know there's of cars who are trying to get off the interstate that we would assume were impacted by this twister at crossed I-40 or so north and west of Little Rock. And then once they get the interstate open, a lot of this traffic here is through traffic, and they're just trying to get through here. They're not going off the exit. So we're about 2 miles from the Mayflower exit. That's how it stands now, just kind of sitting here and crawling. We can see all the flashing blue lights, again, about a half a mile down the road. So we assume that's where the tornado crossed the road, and unfortunately there are cars in its path.
Mike, are you with your satellite truck right
Yes,
now?
I am. I am. I'm right behind the satellite truck, and our crew is in front of them. So we're convoying in. We're in the right lane.
Good.
Nobody. I mean, nobody's really moving. All the license plates are from Arkansas. I can guarantee most of these people it's Sunday and they're just trying to get through the area. And everybody's on their smartphone, on their phones, probably trying to figure out what happened. I'm sure most of them know that there was a situation here as far as severe weather. I haven't seen any more emergency vehicles go by, Jim, in the past, say, 5 or 6 minutes. Here comes another flatbed truck in my rearview mirror. So we've seen, I think, 5 of these go by, all from the same company in Little Rock. So let me see. Yep. Now this is a giant. Now that was another one of those giant tow trucks. So they're either going to try to tow some of these vehicles out and then get some of these on the flatbed trucks and get this interstate open. No traffic eastbound either back towards Little Rock. So one would assume that this interstate is shut down in both directions out here northwest of Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock itself is fine.
Yeah, and Mike,
it did not hit the town of Little Rock.
And Mike, Right. We don't know if those vehicles and that heavy equipment isn't going to Mayflower to clear some of the roads. I mean, remember, you've got to get that debris out of the way before you can get in for a full search and rescue. I mean, if you've got to get an ambulance in there, it can't drive around debris and into trees. So that is certainly something we need. And let's get a better idea of what the situation is like in Mayflower. Again, if you're just joining us, over the last couple of hours, we have watched a devastating tornado work from Lake Maumelle up through Mayflower and into Volonia, where it has caused extensive damage. Brett Adair, who is a storm spotter for many years, has been joining us on the phone occasionally. He comes to us from Mayflower. I was reading Brett's reports to the National Weather Service describing the damage as he's gone along. Brett, what is the current situation that you're seeing here in Mayflower since you last updated us?
Jim, it's really bad. We're trying to make it into the downtown area of Mayflower where the tornado obviously crossed the interstate. We got a visual of the interstate because a neighborhood was pretty much hit and wiped out. Cars were tossed. The interstate is shut down. We've got video coming up of what we can get to you guys. We visualize the wedge coming across the road, and the damage is pretty unimaginable, and it seems like this thing is showing no signs of stopping.
So Brett, talk to us about what you're seeing. I mean, are these brick homes? Are these two-story homes? Are you pretty much seeing homes that have been ripped off the foundation? I mean, paint a picture for me.
Basically, what we see at the moment is we do know that there were several mobile homes, and there are some serious injuries in that particular area.
All right. Unfortunately, Brett's cell has gone out there. Not surprising. You know, there's been some damage, extensive damage. Now you've got a large influx of radios, and you know, you need to transmit data out. So, you know, bandwidth is coming few and far between. Maumelle, by the way, 17,000 people population there. Roland, 745. Mayflower, approximately 2,300 people in the town of Mayflower. And Cedar Hill and even El Paso, we saw these debris balls just travel right up into this area. So we heard from Gabe Garfield, the National Weather Service in Little Rock, who's been keeping an eye on this thing in Volonia. He was talking about the damage, but he didn't see it, but he certainly heard of the damage to a fast food establishment there. And now the storm continues to press on to the north and east. And as Greg Forbes mentioned, at least weakened temporarily, but we still have a long night to go. You heard Bill Bunting talk about the development of more storms for Little Rock and the areas hit by the tornado. Houston, you may be in play tomorrow morning, pre-rush hour. So this is all stuff, certainly, especially with the initiation of that model, gives us a little worry, all right, because none of the air that these new storms are going in has been tapped. Let's take a look at some of these new pictures, guys, as they continue to come in to the Weather Channel. This is from where, guys? Plantation, Arkansas. That is the tornado, all right? That is obviously a wedge tornado here, very, very low to the ground, more than likely producing damage along its path as it moved through. So this is probably the Lake Maumelle to Volonia tornado, again, as it's a very large and violent tornado. And again, pictures here from Forbidden H of the Mayflower area. I mean, look at it. Now you've got brick. Look at this kind of construction here. Brick, I don't, you know, I imagine this could be a two-story, but you see just complete obliteration. Just complete obliteration of everything here that's just been pushed over. Again, remember, this tornado was moving at 45 miles per hour. And sometimes the faster they go, they just kind of push everything over and shove everything over versus chew it up in a blender like we saw in Moore. That was a little bit of a slower moving storm, but a certainly very violent tornado as well that caused a tremendous amount of damage. All right, let's bring in Greg Forbes again and get an update not only on the storm we've been watching for what potentially stayed on the ground for over 30 miles, but the one off to the west that may affect areas north of Russellville. Greg Forbes, what do you have for us?
Yeah, indeed. We do have a new tornado warning in Missouri as well. And certainly looking at those pictures, that big wedge tornado, certainly consistent with what we saw on radar that might have had a half-mile to even more than a mile-wide tornado. The damage, I'm thinking, is going to be EF3 or higher. Still a tornado warning there north and east of Little Rock, tornado warning near Springfield in Missouri. And for the rest of tonight, we're going to see that threat push across at least the southern half of Missouri, maybe into extreme southern Illinois, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, across Arkansas. You see there's still, the cold front is still well to the west. So northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, maybe even into northern parts of Louisiana and across a good portion of Mississippi. We have still a threat yet tonight. Now let's zoom in. We'll take a look at this storm that has had such a long history. I think probably an hour and a half. So if that's the case, it may be even longer than 30 miles. It keeps cycling. It had weakened, but now it's reformed a very well-defined hook there. That hook is in the inflow where the rain-free notch is, and then the precipitation wraps around. This is not done yet. It's likely to be producing a tornado in the area that's going to take it off to the north of Bradford. Slide that a little bit to the north, Sarah. There you go. Up toward the Providence area, the Velvet Ridge area, the Oliphant area, the Island Town area, and this is going 45 to 50 miles per hour. So increasingly, again, it is cycled now the second time, a dangerous tornado likely to be in progress or very soon to again be in progress. Okay, here is the high definition radar. There again is that well-defined hook. Let's take a look. I'll show the velocities with this yet again. Again, a very complicated signature. The radar having trouble resolving it. But when we go to the normalized rotation, wow, that does a computation. It gets rid of some of the noise. Very well-defined tornado signature. Again, is strengthened perhaps a little bit. And correlation coefficient has picked up a little bit. Now it suggests maybe a little spot there where we're again getting some debris. And about 5 or 10 minutes ago, to the slice, Sarah, I took a slice when it had again weakened a little bit, but it gives so the tornado in here not as well defined as if you've been watching, but a almost classic textbook picture of a supercell thunderstorm with the inflow coming in about here, rising up to the overshooting top. It pokes up there like a thumb above the prevailing anvil top. The anvil coming out about this direction, and even up shear, the anvil comes out a little bit in this direction. So that's the updraft, and the top here about 55,000 feet, so a little more than 10 miles tall. Now we want to see also that storm that's in Missouri with a tornado warning, possible tornado and some damage being reported with that one just to the north of Springfield, Missouri. This is a little different. Oh boy, this is a little different character. This is what we were seeing earlier today, a little line with wiggles in it, and this wiggle is a pretty well defined one, suggesting there's a circulation there in that notch with some warm inflow coming in here. So around the area Wishart, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and not extremely intense velocity signature, but certainly in the area from around Wishart heading, I'm not sure if it's going to move straight east or off to the east-northeast, maybe toward the halfway area, but certainly going to the area north of Pleasant Hope by all indications. Something like this toward the Van, toward the Foose area, Cloverdale area, approximately these times. The problem with these lines is that one circulation can be gone in 10 minutes, a new one can form, so the National Weather Service has a pretty broad area defined here as the possible tornado. Let's take this ahead then the next few days. I suggested where it would be the threat yet tonight. Tomorrow, cold front still just coming across parts of Missouri, Arkansas, and Texas, so a big wide swath of the Gulf of Mexico wide open all the way north to that warm front, low-level jet, especially strong turning of the winds with height across Louisiana, Mississippi, and up into parts of Tennessee. A lot of heavy rain in some of these areas, and the jet stream disturbance charging east may get even ahead of the cold front in some places there up into the Ohio and Mississippi Valley. So yet again a dangerous day tomorrow. I've given a torcon of 7 for northeast Louisiana, western parts of Mississippi, 6 up into northern parts of Alabama, and back near where we had some tornadoes in the afternoon today in Nebraska, up near the surface and upper air low. That tomorrow could be Iowa, and all of these areas in red from Houston up into central the Columbia, Missouri area, and along a warm front all the way over to parts of North and South Carolina. We have that severe threat, maybe even close to the Atlanta metro area and certainly to the north. Let's go one day yet in advance. That's Monday. Head into Tuesday. Very slow moving system. Torcon still a 4 for parts of Louisiana, northern Alabama, 5 for southern Alabama, central Georgia. So Atlanta, Tuesday could be a dangerous day. South and parts of South Carolina and southern North Carolina along that frontal zone, I've also given a 5. And into Wednesday, it still is slowly moving along with very unstable air ahead of it. I've given still torcons of 4 in North and South Carolina, 4 central and eastern Virginia, and out this many days in advance, these kind of tornado condition index values could increase a little bit as we see exactly how the details are going to rise as we get closer in, how much rain there has been to contaminate and hold down the instability. And probably realistically, it's going to be Thursday before the threat gets completely off the shore, off the coastal areas of Virginia and the Carolinas and Georgia. So a multi-day event. The last time I counted, and that was before we've been on air almost continuously here, there was probably at least 10 tornadoes thus far today. It may be getting a 10 plus 1 that is probably a very long track tornado and probably a few additional ones. Certainly a dangerous day, especially with that tornado coming across north and east of Little Rock. Let's go now to Jim.
All right, thank you, Greg Forbes. Excellent update. And again, what Greg is saying, certainly in the long term, we go into the next several days, maybe to where we started in North Carolina last Friday with the round of tornadoes up that way. So we still have a long way to go with this. And of course, as all that's going on, severe weather-wise, there is going to be a massive search and rescue and recovery effort that is going to have to go on, unfortunately, from some of the stories that we're reading across parts of Oklahoma, southern Kansas, and especially Arkansas, where we understand certainly the devastation from what we're hearing from some of the storm spotters is quite immense. Large, and you can't even get your hands around it yet. I want to bring in Bill Bunting again to talk more about tonight. Let's just focus on those in harm's way. First of all, for those doing search and rescue tonight, Bill, what are they going to have to deal with north of Little Rock? Let's focus on that. So this is the model, okay? Right. It's got a good initialization, and it's showing us new storms developing and pushing through Little Rock overnight. Storms
that are developing in eastern Oklahoma now will likely continue to move east, and we think that the HER model has a fairly good handle on the evolution. What we'll see is a tendency for storms to form more of a linear structure with time, which means more widespread areas impacted with heavy rain, lightning, perhaps enhanced damaging winds. And what will happen is...
Does our tornado threat go down?
it does not go down enough that folks need to drop their guard. There will be the potential for supercell tornadoes and spin-ups within the line itself as we go into the overnight hours.
The last image, what time is that where you stopped it over Memphis and also in Houston?
Let me stop it right now and let me go forward in time.
All right.
The computer's updating right now. So this
we're getting
is
a new model. Remember, this comes in every hour, right?
Right. So this is 4 a.m. Central Time. And you can see that we've got storms central, northeastern Arkansas, down into East Texas, southeast Texas.
So that's right over the area that's getting hit right now. So tonight, those that are,
if you're involved in rescue operations in central Arkansas, there will be additional storms overnight, posing a threat for damaging winds, heavy rain, and of course lightning.
All right, so again, that's Little Rock, that's Shreveport in the gun, and there west of Houston, we see that. So here's 4 a.m. What about going forward in time? When is Memphis and Houston in play?
Those are, as we get into the morning rush hour, we'll continue to see severe storms. So this is going to be an active overnight, folks, in these areas, and also want to include parts of southern Missouri where we still have severe weather going on. The model didn't quite catch it as well as other parts of the country, which is not terribly unusual, but this is still a dangerous overnight period, and folks need to pay close attention to developments.
So to let folks know at home, what you'll be doing, you'll be coordinating new watches potentially overnight with offices in Memphis, in Little Rock again, maybe Jackson, Mississippi, Lake Charles, Houston, right? Shreveport.
Several WFOs, National Weather Service offices locally across the central part of the U.S. And as we get into the Mississippi Valley region, we'll be talking with them overnight, trying to keep the watches out ahead of the storms. Local offices will issue the warnings. We'll do our best to keep everyone informed and hopefully safe.
For our big area in Arkansas in play, more storms at least through 4 a.m.
As we get closer to morning, yes.
All right, thanks, Bill. We appreciate that. Guys, just got word from the Weather Channel, new video that has come into us. We want to show it to you now. I'm going to walk over to my monitor because I want to see it as well. Let's take a look at this. Again, this is search and rescue in Mayflower, Arkansas. So this is courtesy of Jeff Woodward. You can see that fire, police, really anybody that's been involved in this is trying to get someone who's been injured out of harm's way. And no question, look at the flashing lights going on behind. And this is what we're going to see tonight. And I'm afraid it is not only going to be in Mayflower. Those are the pictures that we're seeing. That seems to be the biggest town, population approximately 2,300. But again, Lake Maumelle has been had some damage. We've had Roland come in with damage. Population there about 745. We understand that Volonia was a very hard hit town. All right, a very hard hit town. Center Hill had a debris ball. El Paso had a debris ball. And then the storm went a little bit north of Searcy and started to weaken a little bit. But as Forbes was saying, this storm is holding together enough to still produce damage. And we've got new warnings out across Missouri. That storm that we were watching southwest of Springfield has gone tornado. As Bill was showing us, we have, again, a concern tonight of damaging wind and even more tornadoes. So more watches will come out. Make sure you're prepared for this. We showed you the towns. Little Rock again. You're probably going to get hit worse over the night time hours toward 4 a.m. than what you got all day today. North of Little Rock for that search and rescue. Again, guys, it's going to be through 4 a.m. Let's bring in Greg Forbes and get the latest on what he sees on the radar. Greg, let's take the storm that has been a long track tornado. Where are we at with that right now?
Well, we've had a report now of a tornado in Denmark, so I think that's pretty close to ongoing right now. The storm certainly has intensified yet again. Not a real well-defined debris ball, but about as strong as a rotation as we see typically of tornado signatures. So here it is in the area between Pleasant Plains and Bradford, off to the north and east of Little Rock. The tornado warning that was up around Springfield in a line of storms, at least for the moment, has weakened. So to a severe thunderstorm warning. Not a well-defined, not an intense debris ball, but you can certainly see the swirl that culminates down there south of Midway in between highways 157 and 167 off to the west of Bradford, and it is in there that debris ball is trying to re-intensify. That will head off toward the northeast, north of Bradford, and toward the Newport area. It has about as well-defined a tornado velocity signature as you can see there that is going to go just south of Midway, right across Highway 167 and off toward the north and east. Showing about where it's going to be, heading probably near and just to the north of Oliphant, near and just to the north of Newport, about 911 or so. Yeah, that's probably the big path. So getting close to the Bailey area, the Newport, the Campbell Station area, the North Pitts area, as again, a very dangerous tornado likely to be in progress may never have ended in all reality. It may have just have weakened, but well, at least we've lost the debris ball. Let's go to our high-definition radar. So there, not absolutely sure that this is debris ball. It's not that purple intensity like we saw. There's some hail up around Pleasant Plains, you see, that's more intense than this signature, but certainly in there is where we're getting the tornado situation. Actually, tornado may be showing up right about there, so that could be a cycled tornado. Sometimes the tornado will take a little bit of a turn to the left, and then a new one may form and head along in there. A little bit of concern that may be happening. The correlation coefficient, that would be the debris signature on the other hand, says pretty much what I was saying, that maybe the old tornado has lifted and turned left. The new tornado looks like it is the strong one, and it is in that debris signature, what now probably is a debris signature, and is moving off toward the north and east. Let's go to our slice. Again, classic supercell structure. What would appear to be a combination of the rotating part of the storm, what we call the mesocyclone, and visually that would be the wall cloud, with a tornado embedded in that, coming up into the body of the storm about 20,000 feet tall. And then in this particular slice, the top of the storm, the whole storm leans forward with that strong winds aloft, and the whole top of the storm there up about close to 50,000 feet tall. Let's go ahead, Sarah, and do we have some additional radar here that we'll look at? Taking a quick look up at the Springfield area, that line continues. There still are a few little kinks forward in the line, Polk County there, but the tornado warnings expired. It looks like in this one, probably the main threat here is this little mini bow that is surging eastbound. But some of these little kinks, you can never totally rule out a brief tornado that is a possibility that might form. So still dangerous storms. They're not here, not everywhere. Tornado emergency for Fida and Oil Trough, Arkansas. Pleasant Plains, that would be the south suburbs of we're talking about. There's Pleasant Plains. There's Denmark showing up, and we've had reports that there's been a tornado there at Denmark and in Arkansas. And we also had some initial reports coming in that we had said that there had been a fast food restaurant in Volonia that had been hit. The reports continue to trickle in that it may be a lot worse than that. We'll hold off on giving any more than there, but there are a lot of communities that have already been hit, and unfortunately could be a lot more that are yet to be hit, including places like Bailey and the Newport area up to Diaz and Cache as this storm continues across Arkansas. So, Jim, this is certainly the storm of the day. I'm thinking that it's the storm of the year thus far. May have the strongest tornado we've had thus far this year. One tornado rated EF3. I'm pretty sure this one will be at least that strong and perhaps stronger. And I'm kind of worried about what the casualty toll may be in this particular storm. Jim?
Well, I feel you, Greg. I mean, I don't know what it is, but sometimes you see the damage, you see the radar signatures, you know what goes along with that as a meteorologist, and you just, you stop for a second and you wonder what's going on out there. I mean, because again, a lot of this is breaking. We showed you the video out of Mayflower as well, and there were just, a live search and rescue going on, or at least a recently taped one from Jeff Woodward. You saw people try and get people out of harm's way in through here. We've seen pictures of a large wedge tornado, and this being the anniversary of the worst day of the super outbreak in 2011, these types of images certainly bring us back to what is a horrible situation. All right, let's go to Kim and Nick in the Weather Channel studios in Atlanta and talk a lot more about what we're seeing, what is coming in from our viewers to us to give us an idea to better paint a picture of really what has been a horrible day in the state of Arkansas. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Jim. We share those feelings too. We've been sitting here back in the studios here in Atlanta talking about April 27th, the tornadoes and how they devastated portions of the South, and feeling some of the same emotions as we watch this happen, knowing that there's been so much damage, knowing that there have been so many people injured.
Right, especially when we see the pictures, we see the signature on radar, we hear Dr. Forbes' voice, there's going to be fatalities. People will be dying from this tornado and have already died probably. Looking at some of the damage now where Mike Seidel is trying to get to Mayflower, and Interstate 40 closed in both directions because the tornado went across Interstate 40. A lot of cars and trucks are damaged and in the interstate, and they're trying to get that cleared out. Look at the damage here of this home. completely leveled at this point.
And we're getting reports of so much damage from the Storm Prediction Center. The storm reports saying that numerous houses have been destroyed, a fast food restaurant in Volonia destroyed. The fire chief reportedly saying that this is a mass casualty situation in Volonia, and they have ordered as many ambulances to the area as they can get. Obviously, a lot of people injured. The Arkansas Game and Fish Headquarters east of Mayflower has apparently been heavily damaged, and several homes in Saltillo have been damaged as well. Numerous reports coming in from storm spotters as well as people in this area talking about the damage that has been so widespread.
All right, let's go back now to Jim, who is live at the Storm Prediction Center. Jim, what's the feeling there right now?
And I can see his son in there, too.
Okay, guys, we got a lot of things going on here. Again, you guys mentioned that Mike Seidel is gone from North Little Rock. He is trying to make his way into Mayflower. Massive amounts of traffic, a lot of emergency response vehicles on the way, obviously, from what we're hearing and the types of damage that we're seeing. Mike Seidel, or before all this happened, we had tornadoes on the ground in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. And some have caused damage and even loss of life. So we're going to talk to Mike Bettis in just a little bit. We're going to Seidel first or Bettis? Which one we got? All right, let's go to Mike Bettis, who is up in Baxter Springs. Mike, we certainly read about the damage up there. What are you seeing as you get to Baxter Springs, Kansas?
Yeah, we've just got here, Jim, and I've come upon some damage and joined right now by Shonda Qualls. So, unfortunately, taking a direct hit from this, Shonda. Tell us what it was like when, I mean, we see your home behind us here. The roof has been removed from here. What was it like? And you were home at the time. What was it like when this hit?
Yeah, it was kind of quiet at first, but the siren had went off for just probably 10, 20 seconds at the most, and then it quit. So I got up to see what was going on and came out on the front porch, and I noticed the neighbor was standing on his front porch. But the outside, the lighting and stuff just kind of looked odd, the sky and stuff. Right. So I turned around to go back, and that's when the wind hit, and I couldn't get the front door shut. And finally kind of got it latched enough, and I took off running and went into my son's room. And then once I shut the door, it was kind of like a bomb went off. I mean, it got real bright and stuff, so I kind of like ducked down. And then it just got really quiet.
But you're okay? Your son's okay?
Yeah, everybody... other three were gone, so I didn't know where they had went. But as soon as I got up and was able to get out, the neighbors were out here yelling at Bailey, so I thought my daughter was running around, but her dad had taken her to drop a friend off. So they were all out. Thank goodness they were gone.
Would you be able to show us what your home looks like now?
Yeah,
so you can see that the top of the home has been removed. She said it sounded like just a big explosion. We're going to take a look inside here. Thank you, Shonda, for this. But power is out. Sheriff is on site here, and they have first responders here. You can see as we go inside here. Boy, you've got broken glass everywhere, Shonda.
Yeah, it just,
the ceiling is still intact. The roof, at least here, just was removed.
Yeah, this is okay. But when I got past here is when I ran into this room.
Now, what room is this?
This is the dining room area, and then that's my son's room. But all this came down right behind me. I could feel it, like the wind and it was just like lit up whenever I got in there and turned the light on.
Was it a big vibration? What did it feel like?
It felt more like a suction, actually. It was kind of like a suction and then just a big, huge light's all I could see.
What part of the home were you in?
I went into my son's bedroom.
So you were back in this room back here. What's it look like in there?
It's actually it's just dusty. It's just got insulation.
So it was the best place for you to be then.
It was the best place, yeah. I mean, it just got insulation everywhere. My daughter's room was kind of like torn off the back over there. The ceiling's down, and it's kind of pulled away from the house somewhat. So thank goodness nobody was in that area.
Your family has had a history of being hit by tornadoes. You had a family member hit in Joplin just a couple years ago.
Yeah, my daughter, she lived on close to range line. In fact, she lived like a block off range line, and they were in the tornado when it happened. They were just getting ready to leave the house and decided not to go, and turned around, and they were safe in their house. They stayed in the bathtubs.
Have you gone through drills with your family before? Know where in your house you would go if a tornado struck? Was this the place you would go?
No, we've talked about it. We know to go somewhere, but we've never really made a plan. So I guess that you don't really expect it to happen, and then when it happens, you just kind of do what you
just
gotta
react,
do.
right? Well, the interior structure right here, you've got a big old, doorway here that's fully intact, but you can see straight up to the sky, unfortunately, here.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
And their dad's room, he had been in there about 5-10 minutes before he had actually left to take the little boy home, and the whole side of that window, had they been sitting there, they probably would have been killed, because the whole side of the window is in, the roof's off. I think it got the worst, but this is the part that came just like barreling in and stuff. And there's bricks
debris
and
everywhere.
Debris and insulation. And
well, Shonda, we thank you so much for letting us be inside here. Jim, I mean, counting her blessings. I mean, what an event, just hitting like that and then damaging town. We'll go back outside and show you what's going on in Baxter Springs. Just a hard hit from a tornado just hours ago.
Well, Mike, make sure you share with Shonda that we're all thinking about her here. We've all been watching this at the Storm Prediction Center, and of course, everybody behind the scenes are keeping an eye on what's going on here. Again, this is one of the areas we've had tornadoes confirmed in Missouri, in Kansas, as Mike showed you with the damage there, also in Oklahoma, extreme northeast Oklahoma, where there's been loss of life there. And of course, the big one of the day at this point has been in north central Arkansas, potentially the same supercell traveling from Lake Maumelle all the way to Step Rock. It's still got a signature out there, and that is some 50-plus miles if, in fact, it has been confirmed or will be confirmed to stay on the ground that long. All right. Again, guys, one of the as we kind of paint this together in terms of what we're getting from reports, we know that Mayflower has been extremely hard hit. We know that Volonia has been extremely hard hit. I want to bring in Tom Marsh, who has been nice enough to join us on the phone. He is in Volonia. Now, we've heard about Mayflower, Tom, but tell me what's going on in Volonia. This area could be heavily damaged as well.
It is. I just came through the bypass of Volonia, and that area had been hit previously a few years ago. And when I did, the interesting thing to note was that the winds apparently were so strong that the cabling that's used to separate the highways was snapped like they were dental floss and thrown across the road. I went over several of those that were laying in the road. The trees were like matchsticks. There's a subdivision to the south of the Volonia bypass where you could see that it was just devastated, and you could hear numerous people screaming and yelling. There was emergency vehicles flooding the area, no power, cars pulled off the side of the road. There was a lot of damage to vehicles that apparently were caught up in it as they were traveling on that bypass. There was clothes and things spewing all over the roadway, so it looked like a war zone.
All right, so similar damage to what we're hearing about in Mayflower. I mean, describe the types of homes. I mean, are these large structures that you're seeing? Are the trees? Do you see any trees that are debarked by any chance, or cars that have had the paint stripped off them?
Well, the trees, there was no leaves on the trees. They were like sticks. Yes, they had been totally wiped clean of their branches. And the housing development that I saw was a single-family, single-story home subdivision where all you could see was cars in there with their emergency flashers going, and you could definitely tell that the tops had been pulled right off the house.
Tom Marsh, we appreciate your time tonight. We appreciate your time tonight. Of course, describing a horrible image there of people screaming and just trying to figure out what the heck just happened to him. Tom, thank you for talking to us. Again, guys, heavily damaged in Arkansas, the towns of Mayflower, and as we've just heard from Tom, Volonia as well, and there have been casualties as well, and they continue to mount as the search and rescue is underway. All right, let's go ahead and bring in Greg Forbes again. Greg, you've been watching the radar. What kind of trends do you see? Is there still any kind of a signature left with this parent supercell?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a velocity signature with this. It does not, at this point, have the debris ball signature, and at least in the last scan, did not have a debris signature that we see in the dual pole radar, but it still has rotation, no doubt about that. It still has a tornado warning. It has gone increasingly far away from the Little Rock area. Now, it began to have a tornado signature about 19 miles away from the Little Rock area. Right about here, there is the first debris signature, the debris ball that we had, and I saw the debris signature even before that. So it has gone about that far. Sarah, can you put a measure on there and show that approximate distance from? Can you see the center of my circle there? It's just to the west of Little Rock, from right about there, from just west of Little Rock up to where the storm is now, and get a measure of that. by my count, time-wise, it has been about 2 hours and 15 minutes that this storm has been going. Now, that doesn't mean we've had a continuous tornado all that time, but that's about pretty close to 80 miles of distance that this rotating storm at least has traveled. So there could be a pretty long tornado track in there, and maybe several shorter tornado tracks that would, with a break in between, that we would call those sequence a tornado family. So let's go and take a look and see where the storm is right now then. We have a storm that's in Independence, Jackson, and Jackson counties coming out of White County with up in the area in the vicinity of Newport, Newark, and Tucker, and still right about there would be where the tornado would be located. So likely to be going close to Newport, maybe just to the north of Newport, and then into the Tuckerman area. There you see the velocities, and so a little bit of a elongated shear line. Tornado likely to be right about in that southern portion of that, heading up toward the Newport area. So Newport, a little bit bigger community, unfortunately, as by the looks of things, than the ones that has recently been going through. So this is, again, alarming. Newport coming up into the Newport area toward also Tuckerman, Denton Island, the Cache, the Herman areas. Let's go over then to the high definition radar. And last I looked at that a moment ago, looked to me as if the tornado might be embedded in the rain, wrapped in rain there. The velocity signature has weakened a little bit, certainly a lot since we saw it at its peak, but that could strengthen again. And sometimes when these storms cycle, they'll get another storm that will form out on the flank. So the original one looks like it's coming up toward the oil trough, the Campbell Station area. A new one may form and come into the Newport and the Diaz area. Right at the moment, we have lost those blue debris holes, unless this is some of the debris that's been picked up and tossed a long way away from the tornado warning. Yeah, just to the west of Newport. One of these, that's probably the new reformed circulation that I was talking about, that could be down on the flanks of this storm. So certainly one circulation around the just to the south of Oil Trough, and another that is trying to head toward the Newport area. So Jim, we are certainly not out of the woods yet. It is not as intense as it had been. But that said, we're also getting farther away from the radar. So we had a very, very good vantage point on it when it was about 20 miles away from west then to the northeast of the Little Rock area. Now we're getting farther away, getting higher up. We're not getting quite as crisp a look as at this storm as we did earlier, Jim.
Excellent point. Yeah, I mean, we're almost halfway between Memphis's 88D and Little Rock. So you're right, Greg. We're looking up above where all that damage, or certainly the best rotation certainly is with that particular storm. All right, let's go back into the Weather Channel studios. Kim Cunningham and Nick Walker are joining us now to talk about what they're hearing. Certainly, guys, you know, the information just continues to flow in as this is very, very much a breaking story.
It really is, Jim, and we're talking about, as Dr. Forbes mentioned, over 2 hours now where we've had warnings on this same thunderstorm cell. Obviously, this has been a long-track tornado. And
social media covering it very well. We're getting a lot of pictures and a lot of reports of a major damage, just devastated here in Mayflower, Arkansas, and one death being reported right now in Mayflower, Arkansas at this time. As you can see, homes devastated, and we have some video as well as we're showing you. Right now the trees just totally, their leaves ripped off and broken at the bases, and a lot of devastation to people's homes. This is heartbreaking. Here's some video now coming into us of Mayflower, Arkansas, devastated by a very strong and violent wedge tornado. Maybe about an hour and a half ago, Nick, maybe somewhere in there, somewhere.
Probably about the time that it hit Mayflower. We're just now seeing these pictures for the first time with you, so we're just kind of taking in this damage, and it has been widespread here around the Mayflower area. Eerily enough, this is the same area that saw a strong tornado that hit almost the exact same area here exactly 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago. It was actually April 25th, 2011. 4 people died in that tornado. 3 years ago in this area.
So it's still fresh in their minds for sure. I mean, just devastating pictures coming into us. Again, one death being reported. Interstate 40, eastbound, westbound, closed right now because the tornado crossed the interstate. But right now we want to go to Baxter Springs, where Mike Bettis is right now, where a tornado hit there earlier tonight. Mike?
Yeah, and good evening to you. We did have a touchdown here in the Baxter Springs, Kansas. Governor Sam Brownback has declared an emergency, a disaster emergency here, and there's good reason why. You see homes like this one behind me missing a roof up top there. Where's that roof? It's actually sitting right over here on the ground behind. So this tornado, as we were talking to Shonda Qualls, who's the owner here, she was in the home at the time and said she heard the tornado siren for about 20 seconds or so, ran to get her son into the bedroom. The tornado hit, ripped the roof off, and just kind of shook the house. And this is what it looks like now. And there's all kinds of debris now from their home back into the backyard. Emergency crews are here. First responders are here. You can see that the power crews are here as well, trying to do what they can to restore power. We've got debris up in the power lines. Power lines are down. A lot of trees are down. We can tell you this, here in the city of Baxter Springs, 60 to 65 homes have been damaged or destroyed, 20 to 25 businesses damaged or destroyed, and they're not allowing any volunteers in right now. They don't want to do that at nighttime, so it's only first responders right now that are allowed in the city. We had to get an escort into the city to show you what's going on here, but from what we're told is tornado touched down initially about right where this house is, and then moved its way north, and then maybe a little bit, maybe even east through town, damaging multiple blocks here. I believe the fire department may have been struck as well, but a lot of big trees we've seen, Kim and Nick, have been uprooted as well, and people at this point don't have electricity either, so they may have to find a place to stay tonight, but it's a very difficult situation here in Baxter Springs. We do hear a report that 2 people were killed in Quapaw, which is south of here. We've not been able to confirm that just yet, but that has been the report this afternoon with this tornado touchdown. But some pretty significant damage here in Baxter Springs. Luckily, Chandra and her son, lots of debris here, Chandra and her son, who were in this home, they escaped without a scratch on them, which is great news. And as far as we know, no fatalities to report here in Baxter Springs.
All right, Mike Bettis, we appreciate that report. Again, just seeing the devastation, certainly hearing about the 60 to 70 homes and also the 20 to 25 businesses in the Baxter Spring areas. Just one of the areas that have hit. Of course, the big tornado has been in Arkansas. That's the one we've watched, as Greg Forbes was showing us earlier. Potentially, at least the parent supercell has traveled almost 90 miles. All right, and the devastation, especially in towns like Mayflower and also Volonia, has been extensive. And there has been a tremendous search and rescue effort going on in both of those towns, and potentially even other small towns away from that with less population. All right, I want to show you the pictures, actually. Speaking of search and rescue, this just came into us over the last 30 minutes or so, and this is from a storm spotter here. You can see here everybody just kind of all hands on deck. Certainly looks like residents or anybody stopping by, police, fire, everybody's trying to lend a hand here to get this person out of harm's way. This is courtesy of Jeff Woodward in Mayflower. We understand this is just a small sampling of the situation tonight in Mayflower, and also from what we heard earlier from Tom Marsh in Volonia with the kind of damage that we're hearing about. Now, this is kind of a 360 of Mayflower here. And I mean, look at this. Buildings scraped right from their foundation. Right from their foundation here. As we just kind of pull an entire 360 here, and that's the kind of extensive damage that we're seeing. Greg Forbes mentioned probably the strongest tornado of the year, easily from what he's seen, probably EF3, if not stronger damage. All right, let's join Mike Seidel. Mike's been talking to us for the last 2 hours or so as he's come out of North Little Rock and tried to make his way toward Mayflower. Mike, you know what, because I know you're the math guy, how long would this trip normally take on a day that would not be interrupted by a major tornado?
We're talking 20 minutes for 15 miles or so from downtown, not even that, and it's Interstate 40 at 65 miles an hour. We're about 2 miles from the exit. We are now seeing traffic moving eastbound towards Little Rock. That's a good sign. That I would assume that would mean that the eastbound lanes have been reopened. The westbound lanes where we are, much like the picture I think you've popped up on the air that I tweeted out, we have not moved since the last time we talked to you, which was, 45 minutes ago. It's gridlock here. We do have a crew up ahead. They have shot that. A lot of cars just strewn around the area. I have a feeling that these vehicles drove into this rain-wrapped tornado as it came across Interstate 40 here, northwest of Little Rock. We've also heard stories unconfirmed that there's a gas leak up there. So we don't have that confirmed. We got that from local news. Where was the gas leak report from? Where did you get the gas leak report from? Joe Wayne. Okay, that was from from the satellite truck company's matter to the office. She got that locally from news media. So that's the extent of that detail, Jim. Bottom line is we're not going anywhere at this point. Still emergency vehicles going up the shoulder. We've not seen any flatbed trucks. There was a lot of those, and now we know why, because they're trying to get all these cars off the road that were hit by this twister, along with a lot of big, massive tow trucks. And again, we're looking down the road towards the Mayflower exit. I can see about a mile down the road, and basically it's your gridlock. That's how it is out here, Jim. Winds are dead calm, and we're seeing a few stars overhead, but we're just waiting and trying to figure out how we're going to get past here. And we are planning coverage in the morning, Jim, on the network from either Volonia or Mayflower, because it seems like both towns have been hit very, very hard, and there have been casualties.
All right, Mike Siddell, as always, you are the ultimate road warrior for us. And again, Mike making his way after really working all day up toward Mayflower and Volonia to try and give us some pictures at first light as to the extensive damage that we certainly saw as the sun set in Mayflower and also into Volonia as well. Before we go to Great Force, I want to go to Bill Bunting one more time and talk again about this HER model. This is a high-resolution model that updates every hour. And the nice thing about it is if Bill doesn't like the way it initializes, or any meteorologist for that matter, you throw it out. But in this case, it has something that may allude us to what will happen for these search and rescue folks overnight tonight in Arkansas.
The latest trend of the high-resolution rapid refresh continues to show the development of additional thunderstorms as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow across Arkansas, northeast Texas, and with time shifting eastward across southeast Texas, northern and western Louisiana, and into eastern Arkansas. So unfortunately, the threat for tornadoes, damaging straight-line winds, large hail, heavy rain, lightning continues overnight, and that will certainly impact rescue operations.
And places like Memphis be on alert tomorrow morning, as well as Houston, as storms approach your area. And of course, Memphis, a big rainy day. Thanks, Bill. We appreciate that. From what we've had today, the good news is at least the severe weather at this point has been away, but now these storms climbing certainly up toward Jonesboro in Arkansas and possibly into western Kentucky before the night is out. All right, let's get an update again, guys. Every time we talk to you, remember the radars update every 5 minutes or so, and we get an idea of what is going on with the latest cell structure and how these storms are either rotating or not rotating. Greg Forbes has been watching that intently. And Greg Forbes, what have you got for us? Let's start with the parent supercell of this evening.
Well, certainly the good news is no longer a debris ball there, but that said, we're getting far enough away from the radar that we aren't getting the kind of resolution that we had when it was closer to Little Rock, where either the Little Rock or the Memphis radars is kind of distant from each of those. Here's what we're talking about, though. Still a cluster of storms across the areas northeast, north central parts of Arkansas, with the one in red there, the one that's been going now for, 2.5 hours from when it was west of Little Rock. There we track it along now as it's getting up toward close to the Jonesboro area. So here is the situation. Still a bit of a hook echo on it, at least a bit of an appendage down to the south and west, coming up toward the Tuckerman area. It's going to go just slightly to the west of Newport in Arkansas and heading off toward the north and east. The Tuckerman area about 9:15, Dryden about 9:36. The Cache, Bono areas 9:43, 9:53. So still capable of producing tornadoes and a lot of heavy rain. It has gotten kind of elongated the whole way from Pocahontas to Eaton down into the areas north and west of Newport and Tuckerman. So you see some of these areas are now getting flash flood warnings as a result. Down in as I say, we're far from the radar, so that means our velocities start to get a little bit noisy. So we're not getting a real clean velocity signature on that. Here is the high-definition radar. My thinking is that this is what's left of the original hook, and the original rain-cooled air is wrapped around probably all the way around what originally had been warm inflow. such that the tornado likely is sitting probably right about there in that there's some green and some red, so that there's a broad circulation, but we may be seeing the storm. In fact, we're looking at the storm here about 7,000 feet above ground, so we're up in the storm, not down below cloud base. Getting a little bit harder to tell the situation. What I wanted to, let me slide this, hang on this, Sarah, for a second. I'll slide this down a little bit farther to the south and west, and there's another storm on the heels down around Heber Springs, has a little bit of a flanking line down to the south toward the Rosebud area. And let me take a little bit of a look at this one and see if there's anything. Yeah, it's trying to get some little circulations here and there on that, so we're not still totally out of the woods in this general area. Up toward the Pangburn area, we may be having to worry about a circulation. Now, Sarah, we can advance, and let's see what we've got here. We're going to take a tour a little bit off toward the north and east. I mentioned that these storms go way up along to the northeast, and so they've been raining and raining and raining. So all the way now from around Poplar Bluff up into the Cape Girardeau area, we have all sorts of flash flood warnings in the storms off to the north and east of the storm that has had the long history of a tornado. So be on the lookout. Don't drive through any flooded roadways, and that's coming up into the Cape Girardeau area as well. Then sliding down into the areas north and west of Texas. This is out along the cold front. It has at times been warned as severe off to the north of New Ulm, south of College Station, gradually heading its way toward the north suburbs of Conroe and north of Houston up toward the Bush Intercontinental Airport, but at the moment no warnings on that one. Let's see, Sarah, we're going to go up into the brand new warning. Indeed, we had just talked about that storm down on the southwest flanks. New warning for Independence and Jackson counties. That's the original supercell that we've been tracking with the destructive tornado for so long. Tornado reported in Step Rock in White County. So it's up near the Diaz, the Newport to Tuckerman area where we were projecting it. Again, 943 toward the Cache, the Bono areas, the Egypt, Arkansas region as well. But a brand new tornado warning, the one we said might get a tornado, slide a little southwest there, Sarah. One we said might get a tornado, now indeed has a tornado warning on this one that originally had been severe warned. It's Cleburne and Independence County, so watch out around the Batesville. I won't try to pronounce that one. MC McHugh, I guess it would be, and Salada, as possible tornadoes. I guess it's this one. There may be a couple storms in the line, so it's this leading one that the National Weather Service has locked onto with the little appendage that's forming there that could be generating that tornado warning. So we're talking about areas off toward the north and east, and it just moved once. Maybe a confirmed tornado. It's getting close to Highway 87 in the area between Concord and Pleasant Plains. Was that Pleasant Plains that I saw there? At any rate, well to the west of the Midway area. And I think Sarah is going to give us a little bit of a projection on that one. The Floral area, it's getting very close to the Floral area. We'll probably go just slightly or close to the McHugh area, then up towards Sulphur Rock as it heads off toward the north and east, probably getting pretty close to Huff. So Flora, the McHugh area, the Huff, and headed off toward the north and east, again going northeast at about 45, 50 miles per hour. So continue to be a danger area. As Bill Bunning has mentioned, that this area sort of has a stalled warm front across the area, very warm air to the south, rain-cooled air to the north, and so that is leaving a bit of a boundary across there. And as storms cross that boundary, they get a little extra rotation, a little extra lift, and some of them, the lead storm there, has not had any sort of rain-cooled air to its south and east, so it's been able to go and is still trying to keep going up toward Jonesboro, Arkansas. So there's still some dangerous storms out there. Do we have any others up in Missouri and Oklahoma? Still a storm in Missouri working its way up into central Missouri, more a line. And then a line of storms that's east of McAllister, but it's getting very close to the Fort Smith area. Mostly severe thunderstorm warnings, but again, can never totally rule out little circulations that form on the leading edge of this. Latimer, LaFleur, and Pushmataha counties in Oklahoma with a severe warning. And then slide it to the north, Sarah, just across the border from Fort Smith, Arkansas, we have Haskell, LaFleur, and Sequoia counties. You see how these also have little surges forward, so once in a while you'll get a tornado in those, in addition to the damaging new tornado warning in Arkansas. That is
new one near west of Jonesboro. It's the same storm.
Yeah, it's the same storm that we're just tracking where we've been projecting it to go. The National Weather Service is just carrying their forecasts ahead as we've been doing. Craighead, Greene, and Lawrence counties, if that's a storm that we've been tracking now 2.5 hours, if it continues off toward the north and east. So, Jim, the worst of the action seems to continue to be in this central Arkansas along that warm front / boundary. But there are some other places, and as the high resolution computer model has been showing, still some indications of places to the west along and ahead of that cold front in parts of Oklahoma and parts of Missouri. Those areas could continue, and Arkansas as well, could continue to have severe weather continuing on in through the overnight hours. Jim, are you there?
What's that now?
Switch it up. This is
I guess I've tossed to Jim and he's not quite ready. Sarah, can you go ahead and give us some forecasts then going ahead in time? If we can, because this is not going to be, tonight it's not going to end.
I'm ready.
We're going to have tomorrow and Tuesday and Wednesday and probably till Thursday before this weather system is offshore. Tomorrow, cold front only slowly moving north, the upper low and surface low heading off into the northeast. It began today near the Colorado-Nebraska border, moving pretty slowly. That warm, moist air, a low-level jet coming up probably again tomorrow, about 60 miles per hour at 5,000 feet. So plenty of turning of direction. Be a lot of heavy rain with this, but given that the upper level jet stream is kicking east toward the Mississippi River, places in Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama could have a dangerous time tomorrow. And I've given tomorrow a Torcon of 7, northeast Louisiana up into western Mississippi. Torcons of 6. Only reason I lowered a little bit, I'm thinking there might be a lot of heavy rain there that might hold down the instability. Parts of Tennessee and northern Alabama 6s, and back near the surface and upper air low, like we had some tornadoes in Nebraska today. Tomorrow it could be Iowa, Torcons of 5, and some severe all the way into the Carolinas. And on Tuesday, that warm front continues. Severe weather all the way to the Carolinas. Some 6s, some 5s down in the Gulf Coast states. Probably even a 5, maybe a 4 for the Atlanta metro area on Tuesday. 5s all the way up into the Carolinas. So still 50% chance of tornadoes. Probably less threats up in the Ohio Valley. I'm thinking there'll be so much rain in the Gulf Coast states that it will put a lot of clouds and moisture farther to the north. And Wednesday, finally, we are getting to all of the eastern region, maybe West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, down into the northern parts of Florida. Still some Torcons of 4, and it won't clear these coastal areas until we get into the Thursday afternoon time frame. So, Jim, we still have a long, long way to go and a lot of states yet to cover with a severe threat from this slow-moving weather system.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as all of that is going on, we will continue to hear the unfolding story of what is going on tonight in Arkansas. As you pointed out, potentially a supercell that's traveled over 90 miles, maybe with a tornado, at least in over half of that stayed on the ground for over 50 miles here. And again, the word out of Volonia is not good. Reports of mass casualties in the Volonia area. They're requesting, the fire chief is requesting as many ambulances as possible, at least a dozen at this time. And those are the kind of reports you never, ever want to read. All right. Again, this all got started in Kansas and Oklahoma, and in Missouri as well. I want to bring in Angie Morgan, who is with the emergency management there. Angie, the report preliminarily of 60 to 70 homes, as Mike Bettis has been telling us about in Baxter Springs, 20 to 25 businesses. What can you say about that, and just how extensive is that damage?
Collecting information from the local jurisdictions to get a good handle on that, and it is beginning to get dark, but the initial report shows 60 to 80 homes were destroyed, with an additional 20 to 25 businesses destroyed. We believe that the tornado track was about 3 blocks wide.
So you're confirming destroyed, not just damaged. 60 to 80
that's
destroyed,
what the initial
preliminarily.
reports are coming in as. Yes.
All right. What about people that have been injured or loss of life? What is the story on that, if any?
Right now, we're trying to still confirm some of that information. We have done initial search and rescue operations, and we've done our second sweep. Any fatalities or injury information, we'll let the local authorities there in Cherokee County release that information. But we believe at this time it's few or very, very low.
Good. I hope that basically proves us right. We appreciate that, Angie. Thanks for talking to us. Angie Morgan out of Kansas Emergency Management. That's 60 to 80 homes destroyed is pretty high, especially when you're talking about a casualty count from what she says is also very, very low. So we'll see. But right now, guys, again, as this story unfolds tonight, this storm producing basically what we call a debris signature on the radar all the way from Maumelle up towards Step Rock in some fashion. The hardest hit towns, from what we understand, Mayflower, with extensive search and rescue, as is the case in Volonia, as we heard from the police up there and the fire chief, a mass casualty situation unfolding in the town of Volonia. Boy, guys, again, this being the anniversary of the super outbreak, of the worst day of the super outbreak, this is tough to take back in 2011. You know, when you think about the beginning of that outbreak in 2011, which started in Arkansas, some of these same areas were hit during that outbreak. This, though, again, is a story that continues to unfold tonight, and we'll continue to monitor it for you. And as Forbes said, several days of destructive weather still underway. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Jim Cantore. And back here in Atlanta, of course, we're continuing to get in reports. It was 2.5 hours ago that Dr. Forbes first said, this is the strongest tornado I've seen so far this season, and that was just due to the signature on the radar.
Right, as soon as the debris ball showed up, that was when we knew this thing was doing damage. And check this image out, a very incredibly frightening image of this wedge tornado in Volonia, Arkansas. Again, we are fearing there's mass casualties from this tornado. Look at that. I mean, the sun was starting to set a little bit. Scary. I mean, you see this coming at you, and I just can't imagine the fear of these people when they saw this heading for them. And here's another picture of it for Plantation, Arkansas. The same tornado, just a different area.
Obviously, this was a strong tornado as it hit this area. In Volonia, we're getting reports now from amateur radio that at least 2 houses were wiped clean to the foundation. So you're seeing this kind of damage coming in now of homes that have been destroyed, cars destroyed, overturned, but a couple of houses at least just wiped clean to the foundation. Obviously a strong and powerful tornado.
And this, again, possibly on the ground, or at least the parent tornado, possibly 90 miles this thing has traveled, just doing destruction all along the way. And even Interstate 40 closed in both directions as the tornado did move over that interstate. Now let's go back to Jim at the Storm Prediction Center with more on this. Jim.
All right, guys, as we continue to show these pictures with the tornado as well, I want people to kind of see and help us paint the picture of what is going on tonight. Again, we are in Norman, Oklahoma. We are at the National Weather Center inside the Storm Prediction Center here, NOAA's Storm Prediction Center in Norman. And we've been talking to the guys and gals here about not only what they're talking about in terms of the long-range forecast, but what they do, how they help to coordinate those watches that you see come out with the local offices as well. And that's obviously been a big help to us today. You saw this area go for the first time a high risk across Arkansas, and you can see why tonight they did upgrade that this afternoon to a high risk. All right, let's help get an idea of what's going on in Arkansas, the hardest hit state from what we understand at this point. From Arkansas Emergency Management, I want to bring in Brandon Morris. Brandon, a lot of information tonight, certainly from a long track tornado from Maumelle all the way possibly up towards Step Rock. We understand Mayflower and Volonia have been extremely hard hit, if not devastated. Give us the latest information that you have from emergency management.
Right now, we're receiving information from those areas up in Faulkner County, just north of Little Rock here, that there has been some extensive damage in both Mayflower and in Volonia.
All right, so you can confirm that. We've seen the search and rescue. We're watching that right now. This was earlier a video from Jeff Woodward. We saw a report from the fire chief talking about a mass casualty situation, requesting a number of ambulances. Can you confirm that?
We are receiving a number of requests from there in Faulkner County. As they make the request to the state, we try to get those resources out. As far as who's been deployed at this time, I can't give you exact figures on that.
Okay, so can these resources, with what's happened damage-wise and the amount of traffic that we're hearing from Mike Seidel that's on the road, get to Mayflower and Volonia?
I have received information from the Arkansas State Police that they have opened up one lane and they are letting essential personnel in on Interstate 40 into that area.
What do you advise people that want to travel along East and West Interstate 40 tonight in Arkansas?
I would advise to find an alternate route.
All right, because at times you are going to close that. You are going to bring in probably heavy equipment. Is there a request for heavy equipment for debris removal?
We have received some requests for debris removal resources in the area as well. I'm not sure about how much equipment or how large the equipment will be.
Can Arkansas supply this area with what it needs? Do you have to go out of state to get some of this equipment?
Right now, with the request that we've received, we do have the resources to meet those requests at this time. If necessary, then we'll make that decision as we move forward.
And from what we see, computer model-wise, it looks like there'll be more weather, at least coming into some of these hard-hit areas tonight. Brandon, are you prepared to deal with that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for the update, sir. We appreciate that. Again, pretty much confirming, Brandon, again, has been confirming what we've heard. Mayflower, Volonia, very hard hit. We know that there is reports and requests in what appears to be a mass casualty situation for a number of ambulances to come in through here. And again, very much a search and rescue. They need heavy equipment to get a lot of this debris off the roads, to clear roads, to continue, obviously, for this search and rescue effort. All right, let's bring in Greg Forbes again. He's watching the radar like a hawk for us tonight. Greg, two things I want you to talk about here. We're not done. All right, and there's places tonight that need to be on alert. And also, what are some of the worst storms that you're looking at right now?
Well, certainly we have two storms in Arkansas. One of them, the original one that we've been tracking now, 2 hours and 45 minutes, a tornado emergencies for Swifton, Arkansas. That's getting up into northeast Arkansas. We've had reports of tornadoes recently with that storm from Pleasant Plains, the Max, the Jacksonport area. Those are parts of Independence and Jackson counties in Arkansas. And there's a new tornado warning on the flanks of that one. So storms that are continuing to roll. Now the second one's running on the outflow from the first line of storms. So here we're talking about tornado warnings for Craighead, Greene, and Lawrence counties, including these communities of Bono, Hoxie, and Walnut Ridge. And Swifton that has a tornado emergency on that one. So taking a look here, there is the Swifton area. We're up, frankly, far enough now where it's getting very difficult to see the velocity signatures, and so nothing there that is standing out, nothing like the kind of velocity signatures we were getting earlier or these debris balls that we were getting earlier. But given the history of this and given the history of having some previous reports, certainly places like Swifton and Alicia, the Sedgwick, the Bono areas where these little protrusions come out, there are the possibility of tornadoes in those locations. One other little appendage that's way down to the south there may be yet another circulation that's trying to form. Go ahead, Sarah. Here is the high definition radar. So there are little kinks that come out here and then a second one. So there may be more than one, in fact, circulations that are rolling across the areas near Alicia and Sedgwick, the Tuckerman, the Swifton area, and then up toward Egypt and Bono. So getting a little bit hard to be very specific. You see that there are two tornado warnings there as a consequence of that. Then sliding a little farther to the south and west, on the heels of this one, yet another storm with a tornado warning. The tornado warning is based mainly on that little notch that comes in there, Cleburne, Independence counties around the Batesville, the McHugh, the Salado areas with the possibility of a tornado. But there is also down near the trailing end of that some suggesting that we could have a second circulation. This is a little closer to the radar, so we can get a little bit better look. And as I say, the trailing edge of that has one or more circulation centers there that are making me a little worried. Slide up to the north a little bit there, Sarah. And there are also some circulations up in that area around that big dog leg. There it is, right up in there, just to the west of Huff. New tornado warning now. They're following that hook up into Independence and Sharp counties, at Cleburne and Independence counties with that hook that's coming up in there. So let's go on, Sarah. And we're getting basically a lot of circulations up in here. They're not nearly as strong as the originals, but given the history, there's a lot of places that could get at least a brief tornado. Floral, Salado included among that, then heading up towards Sulphur Rock and the Dota areas. And not necessarily the right time in all of this, but coming up toward the Gainsboro area, the Strawberry areas. The farther north this particular storm goes, the more it's going to get into the area that's had all the rain from that leading supercell. So my thought is going to be that there is the one hook that's coming up toward the Sulphur Rock area with the possibility of a tornado in the circulation. And that is the one that's going to head up toward the Strawberry area, way up in the north, the upper right corner. But then following down toward the tail end is the second of those little circulations that I'm seeing, and that one will try to run along the flanks up toward the oil trough area, along the flanks of the of this storm. So getting storms that are getting really complicated. There is the best signature at the moment that we're seeing. Of course, that's also partly because it's closest to the radar. Let me see if there's any dual pole. We're right at the edge of the storm where you often get noise, so even though there's some blue there, can't be sure that that's necessarily any kind of a debris signature. And the tornado signatures here are, while they're there, they're not overwhelming. So these other tornado warnings that we're getting now, through some combination of being far from the radar and or looking weaker than what we've seen. But that said, we know that we've had what I'm thinking is the most dangerous tornado of the year that's hit places like Mayflower and the Roland area, the Volonia, the El Paso, Denmark, the areas. So it has been a very, very dangerous night, especially coming across from west of Little Rock up into northeast parts of Arkansas. Let's go now to Kim. Kim, Jim? I'm not sure who they told me to toss to. Toss it to somebody. Jim.
All right. Well, you know what? Jim and Kim sound pretty alike, Forbes, and given the fact that you've literally been talking now for the last 6 hours, you're doing great, buddy. Either way, Kim or Jim is going to pick this up here. Guys, we heard earlier on from Tom Marsh talking about Volonia and the disaster that is unfolding there. Again, very, very hard-hit town, devastated by tornado, possibly a mass casualty situation there in the Volonia area. We've seen the damage in Mayflower as well from storm spotters, Brett Adair. We heard from Reed Timmer earlier on. We know that Mike Seidel is trying to get to the Mayflower area. What is normally a 15 to 20-minute drive from where he was has taken now almost 2.5 hours. The roads are gridlocked, and again, you have to avoid Interstate 40. We talked to the emergency management director in Arkansas, Brandon Morris, and he said, look, people just need to stay off the roads because we need to get in here, emergency vehicles, as well as large equipment. So when we're talking about the kind of damage that is laying across the roads and is laying in streets where they can't get to people yet, this is something, obviously, that we can only help them do. We talked to Angie Morgan, emergency manager out of Kansas, talking to 60 to 80 homes. This is what she said, preliminarily destroyed. 60 to 80 destroyed. I'm thinking some of that's probably damaged, and I'll tell you why I think that in just a minute. 20 to 25 businesses destroyed. And I said, Angie, what are you hearing on injuries and casualties? She said, right now we understand those numbers are low, but she will let the counties, the individual counties, actually report that to us. So if you've got 60 to 80 damaged or destroyed homes and 20 to 25 businesses destroyed homes, destroyed businesses, you're going to have, I think, a bigger situation. Maybe not. Maybe not. Either way, we are hoping for the best in all regards when you certainly take a look at what we've got here. Looking at pictures, guys, of again, kind of a 360 here out of Mayflower, Arkansas. Remember, this is the tornado that Greg Forbes hit pretty hard here tonight. Maumelle to Roland, up to Mayflower, into Volonia, Center Hill, Floyd, El Paso, Step Rock. We saw debris signatures in all these areas tonight, and you can see, unfortunately, two of the hardest hit areas from what we're hearing on all sorts on these reports, and also from what we're seeing in the pictures. We are hearing of Mayflower and also Volonia with extensive damage, and in Volonia's case, a mass casualty situation. All right, Mike Bettis is joining us from Baxter Springs. This is the area that was hit pretty hard in Kansas. Unfortunately, his shot is frozen right now, so we can't go to it. Guys, can we get Seidel on the phone? I'd love to see how his progress is making. Okay, we've got Mike Bettis back. Let's just try Mike, and if it freezes up, guys, we'll plan on something else. All right? So, Mike Bettis, if you're joining us and you didn't hear Angie Morgan from Kansas Emergency Management saying 60 to 80 homes destroyed, 20 to 25 businesses destroyed, what are you thinking from what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, easy to believe, and you can see the power crews are on hand here now trying to get some of the power and electricity taken care of. A lot of down power lines here, Jim, so the town is without power here in Baxter Springs, Kansas. And you look at some of the homes here, there's minor damage to the home. We got big trees in the front yard that are down. I'm sure you can see that there, but you walk a little bit farther into town. I mean, there's a lot of the intersections are blocked off and what have you. You go right down into the main strip of town here. You've got a roller rink that's been damaged. The bowling alley has been damaged. I mean, these are basically flat, and they have a wall standing, or maybe 2 walls standing, and then that's it. These are brick cinder block buildings that have been damaged, but it's all first responders tonight here in the city. The problem is this, no one can really stay here now. They've got really no place to go. 60 to 65 homes destroyed, 20 to 25 businesses destroyed. Governor Sam Brownback has declared a disaster emergency here in Baxter Springs. But if this is really where we're standing, was the beginning of the tornado, with the light damage here, maybe some shingles and stuff off of homes. One home's roof has been lifted off, but you go farther into town, and that's where more of the significant damage is, Jim. But it's all first responders right now. It's emergency workers, it's power crews doing the best they can. We can tell you this, we have no reports of any fatalities here in Baxter Springs, and that's a great thing considering how many buildings were in fact hit by this tornado, Jim. But they came kind of rapid fire. There were 2 tornado-warned storms in succession that kind of rolled their way through Oklahoma, Kansas, and then Missouri. We believe, causing some pretty significant damage here, as well as other places like Quapaw, over near Neosho, and these kind of just slid right past Joplin, a town that was hit 3 years ago and just devastated by a tornado. We talked to one woman here who took a direct hit with her son, and she had a family member that was struck back in 2011 in Joplin. So a lot of people know each other here, Jim. Tight-knit community, trying to figure out who can they house tonight, can they find family and friends to stay with, but a tough night tonight in Baxter Springs, Kansas.
Hey, Mike, I know you can't travel far. I can see debris down all over the place, but from what you can see, or even hear for that matter, does it look like this is a situation where there are first responders trying to get to people?
No. Not like that. I mean, we have, I mean, just come over here. I mean, what I'll show you is, we don't have homes that are flattened. We have businesses that are destroyed, but, they've already been attended to. You go to the homes, and they've got the big X on them, so they've already been cleared, and people are okay. But you look at a home like this is kind of more indicative of what the damage is. Roofs removed off of homes. Right where in the core of probably where the worst of the tornado damage was, you do have buildings that were damaged. These are a little bit more structural, sturdy buildings, but likely they didn't have anybody in them at the time, because they had been cleared already, because they knew the tornado threat was coming. Tornado sirens, they have them here, Jim, but as far as we know right now, no more search and rescue is ongoing. Now it's more of a recovery mode, and again, a lot of power lines are down around here, and they're working hard. A lot of power crews coming into town right now. I see big power poles on the back of some of these trucks as well, so I think one of their main priorities at this point is just kind of keeping folks out, letting them get in here, do their business, clear the streets, and get the electricity back on.
Hey, Mike, if you get a chance to talk to those guys, and I know they're busy and sometimes they just don't want you to bother them, which I totally respect out there. See if you can get an idea of how much at least they have to repair. I mean, are there miles and miles of poles down? Is it complete pole replacement, lines that have to be replaced? Just to get an idea of the damage.
I don't know if it's complete pole replacement, Jim, because this home has been damaged and the roof has been removed. But you can see right here, we got a big old power pole right here, and it's intact. We just need to replace the wires here and get the transmission back on. So we don't have, we have power out in the city, but we don't have, complete annihilation of the grid by any means.
All right, Mike Bettis, we appreciate that. Great reporting for us tonight from the Tornado Track team, again, up there in Baxter Springs, Kansas. Again, we didn't see a signature on radar that looked like the one we saw in Arkansas. Arkansas, a major, major hit tonight.